Hey everyone, welcome to this weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast for Saturday and Sunday, May 9th and 10th, 2020. Alright, so a lot going on here this weekend. We did just have that full moon on Thursday. So fundamentally a good time of still doing a status check with the lunar month. How can we maybe make some shifts and pivots along the life journey? Now, Saturday the moon will be in deep Ophiuchus, so themes good for healing, either physical or spiritual. We have a lot of aspects with Mercury. Mercury will be trining Pluto and Jupiter, and then starting to square Mars as we get into Monday. So a good deep mind, probably good for depth, truth, good for those communications there as well, maybe an abstract mind. And then getting into Monday, maybe good to find that direct and assertive way of communicating things. But all in all, our minds are probably getting more grounded. Mercury shifting into resourceful Taurus, so good to take this slow and steady approach to whatever it is we're thinking about or communicating. Now, also this weekend, we do have the Sun Sextile Neptune on Sunday, quite minor, but maybe some receptivity coming in. And also Saturn going station retrograde, maybe a good time to start to rethink some of these structures we've been restructuring here in 2020. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when I return. All right, so here is the sky for this weekend. We're going to look at this for Saturday and Sunday. Usually this weekend forecast is all 3 days, but since we did that full moon video for the days surrounding Thursday, this weekend forecast will be only Saturday and Sunday. So again, we are using the actual size of the constellations called True Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, definitely check out the link down below. You will notice some of the signs are very different. For example, Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, isn't talked about in mainstream astrology, but it is a constellation that does pass through the ecliptic. So yeah, if you are new, definitely check out the link for more information on True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so let's take a look here first at Saturday. With the moon in deep Ophiuchus, we may have felt some deep energy back on Friday as well with the moon in Scorpio. But on Saturday, we could notice themes around healing. At least it's a great time to do this. It could be physical healing through health, diet, things of that nature, but also spiritual as well. It's a good time of really excavating the deeper dimensions of ourself and of life, the sort of shadow aspects of the self, so that we can accept them and integrate them into our true selves, right? Because our true self is the full spectrum, including the unconscious, and so great time of reintegrating with that deeper side of ourself, of life, and possibly in relationships, which can also bring in some healing energy as well. So in terms of the aspects this weekend, we do have quite a bit going on. So on Friday, with that deeper and healing theme with Ophiuchus, we do have Mercury trining Pluto, which very much supports the same things. Pluto is about the underworld, the deeper dimensions of life, and Mercury is our thoughts and communications. So we could be thinking quite deeply, really good for research, excavating things, maybe communicating quite directly or candidly and to the truth and things like this, quite authentic, usually easier to do that with a nice trine between Mercury and Pluto. Now, Mercury is shifting into grounded Taurus this weekend, so our minds are probably going to be coming out of the fire energy a little bit. We still do have a lot of fire, of course, with the sun finishing Aries, but our mind's starting to shift into the more grounded realms. We may start to notice that we might be thinking a little bit more of a slow and steady sort of way, maybe more about how we can cultivate our resources, learn one thing before taking the next step, right? Nice and grounded, and maybe communicating about the more resourceful energies of life as well. So good to be thinking in the sense of what are our inner and outer resources and how can we cultivate them in our lives. And this has also been the theme as well with Venus and Taurus. Still good to be enjoying some of these resourceful elements, both in our personal lives and in our relationships at this time. I do want to mention that Venus will go retrograde next week on May 13th, and that's going to be starting a lot of retrogrades going into the June and July time when we'll have the eclipse. So Venus will go retrograde first, then Mercury, then we'll have the eclipse, and that's going to be a lot of reworking taking place going into this June, July time. All right, but coming back here to the aspects, also one more thing I do want to mention is Mars has been shifting into Aquarius. So something we may notice this weekend is that when we are taking action in this Aries way that is very much a theme right now, we'll probably do so in a progressive way. We're likely starting to get into more of our eccentric side when taking action, maybe quite progressive, future-oriented, eccentric, unique, challenging the status quo. Really good to get into some of that progressive energy when we're taking action and initiative with Mars. So Mercury is going to be forming even more aspects going into Sunday. So Sunday, the shift will come out of the deeper dimensions of Ophiuchus after we've done the healing and get into more of the post-transformation energy. Sunday will be really good for expanding our horizons, coming out of the cocoon, so to speak, of Ophiuchus, and then going into more of the butterfly kind of energy of Sag. Good to expand our perceptions, things like philosophy, abstract thoughts, maybe a bit of adventurousness could be really good to develop the second half of the weekend here. And with that, Mercury will be trining up to the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter. So again, our minds and communications, in this case, coming out from the deeper dimensions with Pluto on Saturday, going into the more expansive energies with Jupiter on Sunday. So great day on Sunday for thinking more abstractly, seeing the bigger picture, maybe seeing some opportunities and potentials. We'll have a good link between our more practical minds and our more abstract minds on Sunday. And we do have a minor aspect as well. The sun will be sextiling Neptune, so nothing major with this, but we could notice maybe we're more receptive on Sunday. Could be a good day of going more with the flow, maybe practicing things like acceptance, compassion. Could be a bit of a creative energy as well. Just a bit of an opening for the more watery, intuitive and creative elements on Sunday as we do expand our horizons. And Saturn starts to go station retrograde, so there's been a lot of restructuring this year with Saturn and Pluto, but from that there's likely been some new structures being built. And so now it's a good time as we get into next week to start to rethink some of these structures. What are the things we've built in our life for about the past 7 months that now can go through a reworking process? And so it'll be good to do this, give it time. Saturn still has to build momentum retrograde into next week, but maybe on Sunday starting to shift perspective and see what can we restructure in our life, maybe what needs to be redone in regards to long-term goals, planning, any foundations or structures we built, things of this nature. Really good to get into that reworking process with. All right, so that's the weekend in a nutshell. I do want to mention that as we do get into Monday, so the later part of Sunday, Mercury will start to square up to Mars. So there could be maybe this clash between us asserting ourselves in healthy and balanced ways. We may have our needs on our mind. We may want to be direct. And so being conscious of our egos, of our needs, of our attachments, especially when communicating or thinking about things, that can help things stay nice and balanced. And if there is anything you do want to balance with Mars energy that does involve your thoughts or communication, so you have healthy directness, healthy independence, healthy assertiveness, things like that, it can actually be very constructive. There can be more fire to be implemented into our minds and communications going into Monday. All right, everyone, so that is the weekend in a nutshell. A lot going on, but most fundamentally on Saturday, we do have that moon in deep Ophiuchus, good for doing that healing, and all in all, still a status check with that full moon energy in our life. And in this case, how can we implement some of that acceptance of the deeper dimensions of ourself and of life? Also with Mercury Trine Pluto, a deeper mind supporting that as well. Then once we do shift into Sunday, we get into more of the expansive energies of Sagittarius. Good to expand our mental or literal horizons, especially with Mercury trining up to Jupiter, and the sun sextiling Neptune, maybe some receptivity there as well. And then starting to get into some restructuring process. How can we see what can start to be reworked for the next roughly 5 months regarding the structures that we've built the past 7 months. All right, so everyone have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more daily videos, and I'll see you all next time for the next daily forecast. Take care.